I'm Kelly Vaughn, and welcome to Inside Indy. And tonight's edition of Inside Indy, we're on a mission. And I do mean that literally. A mission to build schools across the globe, or to help children to get out of the slave trade, so to speak, to build churches across the globe. And here to tell us about those missions and beyond are Bill Foster. You are founder and executive director of Habitat for Missions.
That's correct.
Welcome to Inside Indy.
Thank you so much.
And then Rich Westlake, you are CFO of Shepherd Community here in Indianapolis. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Man, you really are on a mission. And so tell people, well, let's start off by talking about what Habitat for Missions is, because, and I mentioned building schools, and the first thing when I hear Habitat, I think of Habitat for Humanity. But any relation to that at all?
No, they're an amazing organization, but they're building decent, affordable housing with volunteers, with the purpose of one of those volunteers then buying the house. Habitat for Missions is a 501c3 not-for-profit organization that also develops properties with volunteers, but with the idea of flipping them. We're actually going to sell the property at the end and then donate 90% of the profit to missions.
Wow. Okay, so walk us through how that, give us an example here in the United States, because I know you do a lot of your work overseas, but how that happens, starting from the beginning of the house, acquiring the house itself, and how it ends up being where this money is, happens to help people everywhere.
Okay, I'll give you an example. A house that we just recently developed in Florida. I had a family that had a parent who was going into assisted living, and he was a retired minister, and the children heard about our organization, got a hold of us and said, listen, I think my dad would really be pleased if the family home somehow generated some money for missions. Would you be interested in buying our house at a reduced rate? Wow. And so we said yes, if we could find a local church that would partner with us in the development of the property. I was able to identify a church that was about 15 minutes away from where this house was located. They offered to partner with us. We purchased the house. We paid for the building materials to see the thing developed. They provided the workers. And then when the house was sold, we said to that particular church that did the work, we said, where would you like the money to go? Where would you like the profit to go? And they had a young couple that had actually grown up in their church that were serving as missionaries in the Czech Republic. Okay. And they said that we know that they're underfunded. Could the money go to them? And so wow. I actually, just a week ago, attended that church with a check for $20,000. Wow. Was able to hand that over. And the couple now are, they're now fully funded. And so, yeah, that's what we do.
Whoa, that's incredible, because I was thinking like perhaps the funding might go to some worthy cause just anywhere, but to actually help the local community achieve their missionary goals as well. That's
whoever does the work gets to determine where the money goes. And so all we do is we inspire, we mobilize, we help organize. We offer to help raise the funding needed to buy a house, pay for the building materials. But the group that provides the workers, they determine where the donation's going to go in the end. Wow. And so we just write checks. I like giving money away. It's fun.
Now, you have a partnership here, obviously, with Rich Westlake here from the Shepherd Community. So how are the two of you coming together in this way?
Shall we start with Greenwood?
Sure. Go ahead. You want me to tell that?
You tell the story.
Okay, probably about 3 years ago, I got introduced a very similar story probably to the one Bill just told, but we had a missionary couple in our church who was underfunded, and they knew about Bill and the Habitat for Missions organization. So Bill and I got together, he explained to me what they did, and we were able to mobilize our church and find a home in Greenwood, flip it, make a profit, put it into the missionaries' account. And so I got an opportunity to work firsthand with their organization, see how their program worked, learn how to mobilize volunteers. And so fast forward 3 years, and I'm a shepherd. Love the mission of helping break the cycle of poverty on the Near East Side of Indianapolis. And funding is always an issue. And so he and I put our heads together and just thought, how could this possibly work? And so the idea is, since we already have lots of volunteers come out to us, and if there's anybody out there who would like to volunteer, we're always looking for volunteers. But it's a unique partnership where we're going to not only be able to use the volunteers that are already coming to Shepherd in some capacity, but we'll also be able to say, do one on the southwest side and find a church like they did that want to partner with us. And so there's just a myriad of opportunities where Shepherd can work alongside Habitat to develop a home, sell it, and then take the proceeds and invest it in the children on the Near East side of Indianapolis.
So not just a one-time deal where sometimes you're just working with a particular group and you may not, come together again, but you're talking about a continuous long-term relationship over and over, which you think about it, how it's helping you to accomplish the mission or the missions of Shepherd Community, but also you have this distressed home in a neighborhood that is coming back to life. So, wow, this, I would take it, is the city of Indianapolis or the city, Marion County public officials, are they aware of the project and how it's, because I know, for example, you have your mayoral race going. And
Now's the time to talk
in
with
one
them.
of the commercials, isn't it? Like talking about, blighted homes.
At this moment, no, because we're just really in the incubation stage. But there are a myriad of opportunities for us to use this concept that could help a lot of people. Right now, we're focused on getting it up and running and getting some funding for a reading initiative. We have about 400 children that go, or youth that go, children and youth that go through our programming in a year's period of time at Shepherd. So there's a tremendous need. Many of them are English as their second language. They're not proficient in English. They're not proficient in reading. They're behind grade level. And so we're looking to this to fund a serious initiative to get our as many of those 400 as possible up to grade level and get that reading proficiency out of the way as a possible impediment to their success.
And Habitat for Missions is exciting to be a part of this. This is really great.
Wow, that's amazing. And especially now that you're back home in Indiana, but you spent many, many years overseas as well as a minister,
Yeah,
right?
that's correct. I served for 31 years in Australia. I was what they call a church planter. My wife and I, had this kind of unique niche of being able to initiate something. And so we did that 4 times over a period of 30 years. Wow. And then I also, for 20 years, taught at a Bible college in Melbourne, Australia.
Wow. So you didn't pick up any of the accent? I don't
I
hear
picked it up, but I lost it.
Yeah, can you do it? Can you?
Oh, I don't know. Good day, mate.
Yeah. Well, I could do that one. I love it.
When I order hamburgers, a tomato still slips out every once in a while.
It'll come out. Yeah, isn't that weird how you just pick it up?
Yeah. And my poor wife, all the time, she'll say something, and our grandchildren will look at her, and she goes, "Oh, did I speak Australian?" And so there's hundreds of words that are unique. Maybe they sound the same, but they have a different meaning in Australia.
Oh,
so.
interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. So, I want to find out a little bit more about community.
Absolutely.
The Shepherd community. In terms of, I know you mentioned that the children have certain needs, but you cover a lot of issues in the community. Could you tell us, because I just want people to have a clear understanding of who you are and what you do.
Okay. I'll do my best to touch on a few. It is very broad, and a lot of services we offer. Probably the place to start would be to say we try to approach especially children with what we call continuum of care. So it starts out sometimes before birth, but we try to catch the mothers before or right at birth and begin to work with them on nutrition and just parenting skills and whatever we can come alongside and help them with. We have a Christian school, a preschool, and then school K through 5. And then we continue to work with those kids as they go through into middle school and high school, and then into college. So from before birth all the way through the end of college, we run this continuum of care for young people that stay with us the whole time. In addition to that, and then of course student ministries falls into that, where you have after school and then summer programming. Our summer programming is none of our programming is specifically just babysitting. We do everything with a mission, and that mission is to build the assets into their lives that we know it's going to require for them to break the cycle of poverty. We have we use a concept we call the 10 assets. There are many assets, of course, but we've identified 10 that we think are especially critical in helping break the cycle of poverty. And so our programming is driven by the installation of trying to instill and install those 10 assets, as many of those as possible, into the children. And so self-advocacy and understanding social systems and modeling, very important one is modeling. Having adults in their lives that model good decision making and so forth. So, and of course, then as we get into family ministries, we have things like jobs, helping individuals look for and find jobs, so interviewing skills. We partner with employers around the city, transportation, healthcare transportation. One of the big issues in health for our neighbors around Shepherd there is that many of them don't have they don't have transportation to get access to the healthcare. So we provide transportation. I'm sure I missed 100, but those are a few of the things that we do at Shepherd. Wow,
that's amazing. Well, we're going to take a break, and when we come back, we'll talk more about Shepherd community and also about Habitat for Missions and flipping houses and beyond, and where you're at now and where you're going to go in the future.
Thank you so much.
Okay, when we come back.
One in 3 adults has pre-diabetes. 1 in 3. That means it could be you, your favorite brother, your other brother, you, your football buddy, your football buddy, you, the boss's boss. If 1 in 3 adults has pre-diabetes, that means it could be you, your barber, your barber's barber.
Nice work.
Thanks.
You, your plumber.
Breathe right into your foot.
Your plumber's masseuse.
Yes.
You, your dog walker.
On your left.
Your cat jogger. Or you, your co-pilot. Your co-pilot's co-pilot. While 1 in 3 adults has prediabetes, with early diagnosis, prediabetes can be reversed. Take the risk test at doihaveprediabetes.org to know where you stand.
Disaster tips from the objects left behind.
My home wasn't insured, but you can check your insurance policy now to make sure you're covered. Oh.
My savings are lost, but you can put money aside and plan for unexpected disaster costs.
We're lost forever, but you can scan important documents now so they survive.
For more tips on how to prepare, visit ready.gov.
And we're back here on Inside Indy, and we're talking about Habitat for Missions, where they're pretty much flipping houses and using the proceeds to address, whether it's helping kids with their education, fighting the sex trade, you name it. The money is put to many good causes. And Bill Foster, who is the founder and executive director of Habitat for Missions, you flip houses. I'm trying to make people understand this, and then the money generated goes for missions. So how many houses do you have, like a goal that you're aiming for, and how many have been done in this area? I know you've done them all over the country.
Yeah, we've done 50 houses to date.
Wow.
Probably about a quarter of them would be here in Indiana. We've done a number of houses in Michigan, Illinois, Tennessee, Kentucky, South Carolina. Once again, I think we've done 5 or 6 houses in Florida, a couple in New York State. So we're all over the place. Any place that there is a group that is passionate about Christian mission and is willing to provide the volunteers to renovate a house, we make the offer that we'll provide the funding, or we'll raise the funding to buy a house, pay for the building materials, if they provide the workers. And then when we're done, we give the money away to whoever they nominate. So
Now, where do you get the money, though, to invest?
Oh, that's a good question.
Because I'm starting to add this up like, okay, now,
Yeah, we've got about $800,000 out right now in projects. And so we have an amazing group here in Indianapolis that came to us in 2006. Wesleyan Investment Foundation is the name of the group. They're a not-for-profit foundation. They are mostly providing loans to churches to build church buildings. That's really their core purpose. But they came to me in 2006. We had done a total of 2 houses so far. That was it.
Wow.
And the director heard me speak at a conference, and it was like a throwaway line. I just mentioned that amongst other things that I was doing on the campus of Indiana Wesleyan University, that I was mobilizing students to flip a house to give the money away. And he came to me afterwards, Dr. Dunn was his name. I'd never met the man before. And he said, Bill, he said, you have no idea how big this is going to get. You're going to need investment capital. I want you to come see me.
Wow.
And so it scared me to death because I didn't want to borrow money. But anyway, I took the meeting. He said, I want to offer you $100,000 interest-free for 5 years because this thing's going to grow.
Wow.
So we took that money, we invested it. The average return on the houses that we flipped was depending on the project, but between 25 and 31%. And so we were able to use that money for 5 years to more than double the original investment, but that money was given away, of course. And at the end of the 5 years, we gave him the money back. And about a month later, he got a hold of me again and said, we've decided we'd like to give you that money again for 5 years.
Wow.
So for a second 5-year period, we had that investment capital. We just kept rolling it over. And at the end of the 5 years, we gave it back, and then I kind of was waiting, hoping maybe. And I didn't hear anything, and weeks went by. And so finally, I got my courage up, and I wrote Dr. Dunn a nice little note and said, you know, they've got this possibility, any chance of getting that money again? And he very kindly, he wrote back, he said, no, I'm sorry, we won't loan you the money again.
Okay.
We'll give it to you.
Oh, get out of here. Get out of here.
They gave us the money. Now, something that was even more significant than them loaning these funds for a period of time and then donating it to us, more important than that, he set up an investment account in our name, Habitat for Missions, and then offered that anyone that had an investment with WIF, if they signed a release form, they could loan that money to us for 1 year interest-free. They would handle all the paperwork. They would provide the umbrella whereby all these transactions would take place. At the end of the year, the money would automatically go back to the investor. But in the meantime, they would have helped us buy a house, pay for the building materials, generate somewhere between 25 and 31%. Wow. Now, because they loaned us the money interest-free. We've had more than $1 million go through that account.
Wow.
Yeah. And so that's where our money comes from. Most of the money comes now from people who generously offer to loan us money interest-free for 12 months.
Wow, very nice, very nice. Wow, so now when you take that money in and you invest it into the materials to build the house, and you have the volunteers, and then you sell the house,
Yes.
and the profits go for the missions, but does some of the money go
We
back to the loan?
Okay, we get our initial investment back.
Gotcha. Okay.
And then that money goes back to the original investor.
So yeah.
Yeah, and so in the same way that a roofer donates his skill and his time, or a plumber donates his skill and his time, in that same way, an investor donates the use of their money for 12 months. And the average person, if they have money in the bank, they're going to be lucky if they get 1%. And then they got to pay tax, on any interest they make.
Right.
So they're sacrificing a little, and because we're in partnership with wonderful people like Shepherd Community and their volunteers, we're able to take that little bit of interest that somebody's sacrificing and multiply it hundreds of times.
Wow.
So.
Wow.
Yeah.
What an amazing way to do it. But I see a TV show in this, I watch
a reality show, please.
Yeah,
I would love it.
Yeah, I watch HGTV all the time, and they've got, flip or flop, and all. This is the ultimate home makeover show.
Yeah.
You know?
A lot
Don't
of
you see
storylines.
this? Yeah. Okay. I'll have my people call your people.
Thank you.
Okay.
Do you have people?
I got people.
I don't have people.
Everybody
I have
can
my wife.
people.
That's about it.
Wow. Now, how much of an impact do these funds have on international communities?
Yeah, it's so cool. It really is so cool. We've got two that right now come to my mind. The first is an organization called International Needs. They're a mission or funding organization. They don't actually have North American missionaries that they're sending around the world. Mm-hmm. What they do is they partner with indigenous Christian missionaries. Mm-hmm. And so in this particular case, they have a partnership with a ministry in India, Sagurli, India. And this group rescues children from sexual and industrial slavery. Mm-hmm. And they have a full-orbed program. They've got a school as well as like a church program. But so many families that are at the very bottom of the socioeconomic scale, mm-hmm. The parents have to have their children generating some kind of income for the family just to survive, even if it's only a few cents a day. And so this group actually pays the parents to let their children come to school. Or they provide a safe place for their daughters. And we're doing a house right now near Holland, Michigan. Our goal is to raise $40,000 through this flip that'll go to this particular group. Mm. And International Needs has got a donor who has agreed to match whatever we make. And so this $40,000 is actually going to end up being $80,000, which will enable this group to double the number of children that they have under their care. And so they're going to go from 60 to 120 kids because of one flip.
Wow.
So that's exciting for me. It's really cool.
And then to see the impact is just phenomenal. But I would think it's pretty fun. It looks fun.
Oh, it is fun.
Flipping the houses. And taking them from, nothing to just something gorgeous.
Yeah, I could show you pictures.
We certainly want to share those with viewers. That's so cool.
Yeah.
Wow. So, first of all, I appreciate what you're doing.
Thank you.
I'm sure our viewers do as well. Say somebody out there wants to volunteer. Say somebody out there has a house they want to donate.
Yes.
Or they just want to donate money. Money's acceptable too, right?
Okay. May I just at this point interject? The only thing that stops us from expanding beyond the range that we have thus far is investment capital. I've got churches right now waiting for us to say, yes, we'll buy you a house. I've got a home right now in Lexington, Kentucky. The house is worth, according to Zillow, is worth $275,000. The owners have offered to sell it to us for $220,000, but I don't have the investment capital, and so this is our greatest need financially right now. Yeah.
Okay. You mentioned when we were chatting off the air, is this the one that needs to be moved?
No.
Oh,
The one that needs to be moved has been moved.
Oh, it's already been done.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's on a new foundation. That was the house near Notre Dame. For your viewers that may not have heard the whole story, this house was donated to us, but we had to move it. 6-bedroom, 4-bath, 110 tons.
Wow.
We had to pick that thing up and move it 6 blocks. But it cost us nothing to buy. It's $100,000 to move it, $100,000 for the new land, $39,000 for the new foundation. We're budgeting about $60,000 for the updating of the house, but it'll sell for $550,000.
Oh, I bet you it will, yeah.
And then the money can be given away.
Wow. Wonderful, wonderful. Well, we're just about out of time, so we're going to put your information on the screen. If people want to give monetarily, donate a house, help Shepherd Community as well, we'll put your information up there as well. If they want to just directly give it to you, that we're always open to that, but obviously we want to help with Habitat for Missions.
Thank you so much.
Wow.
Thank you very much.
Very, very cool. I love it. I love it. Anything else you want to say to viewers? Go ahead and, we got 30 seconds.
Just love to have you consider volunteering, and if you're part of a local church, you think you might be able to mobilize some people, we're ready to go with you.
Okay.
And I'll add my amen. Help this group. They're a fantastic group.
Sounds good to me. Bill Foster, founder and executive director of Habitat for Missions, and Rich Westlake, CFO for Shepherd Community. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you.
On Inside Indy. Thank you for joining us. Please give, please support. I'm Kelly Vaughn. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
When I was in foster care, I never knew when I would have to move, so I always had my suitcase ready to go. Then one day, I was adopted. My new parents opened their hearts and home to me. My parents cook my favorite breakfast for me every morning. My parents take me on trips I never thought I would go on. They gave me a home and an even better reason to use that suitcase. My parents aren't perfect, but they're perfect for me.